Hi, everybody. Good morning. So today's the second day we're going to be working on our final week 5 project, our cross-text thematic essay, as we compile the information we've gathered from the stories we've read during this unit. During this week, we're going to start making an outline based on some of the information we put into our graphic organizer. We'll be completing a little bit of a warm-up routine where we reflect on a claim we had written at the beginning of this unit. We'll be reviewing what we hope to accomplish today and how far we hope to get during the writing process. We'll be finalizing our decision on which texts we want to include, and we'll be starting on our writing outline. The purpose for today: creating an outline may seem like extra work at first, but it will actually save you time and effort when you begin to write. An outline is sort of like a map or a navigation system. It tells you where you are going before you start. Outlining is a very important skill for our ENL students to learn, as this will significantly benefit them in their English classes, and especially in their social studies and other content classes as well. Any content class that is going to involve extended writing prompts or extended writing, it's very important for students to be able to outline and plan out their response, so that their response is coherent, organized, and easy for their readers to understand. It may be good to review the concept of what an outline is and how essays in English must be written in a certain format. It's important to explain this to students so that they understand that when they're writing a longer response, it's not just writing as the information comes into their head, but it's rather very planned out and very well organized. Now, our students may have very varying abilities on their ability to understand this concept, as well as their experience with writing these types of extended responses. So it's important to possibly modify the assignment as necessary to meet the needs of all of our students. Again, it's most important that our students are seeing improvements from their own starting point. Not in necessarily finishing with everybody at the same level, because many of them have started at very varying points. There's a number of closing and connecting activities that are included. Students can reflect on the purpose of an outline. Students could be paired up and complete an outline peer review, where they provide one glow and one grow for feedback to their peers. Students can reflect on what is the most easiest part of writing an essay and what's the most challenging part for them. And students can complete a little bonus question about what literary device this is. How is an outline like a map or a navigation system? What do we call that type of literary device? And can they come up with their own example of one? Now let's jump right into today's lesson. Can somebody please read today's essential question? Good. How do we overcome difficulties? Good. We're going to be writing an essay about how characters in different stories were able to overcome the difficulties they faced. Can somebody please read our 2 lesson objectives for today? To prepare for and participate in a range of collaborations with diverse partners. Good. We're going to be working with our peers to improve our writing. Second, to gather information from multiple sources, assessing the relevance and integrating the information into writing. Good. We're going to be using information from multiple stories and drawing comparisons and connections between the two. Let's look at our opening Do Now warm-up routine. In week 1, we practice writing a claim to answer the question, can we overcome difficulties? Do you still agree with your claim? Which text from the unit supported your claim? Which text challenged your claim? You can pause the video here and give students a chance to share out and reflect on this question. Some students may say, I do agree with my original claim because Many characters in the stories we read were able to achieve their goals by working hard and being persistent. Students may also say, my texts that supported my claim were Inside Out and Laura's Key, because in both stories, the main characters were able to overcome the obstacles they were facing. Now we're going to start looking into how to turn our graphic organizer into an outline. Again, it's important that students understand that making an outline is not just extra work or something that they just need to do for a grade or for class, but it's an important skill that they're going to be using again and again whenever they have an extended writing assignment, whether it's on the English Regents or in college. They need to be able to plan out their writing so that their writing is organized and well-planned, well thought out, and easy to understand. You could explain to students that when students write off the top of their head without planning, their writing often comes out disorganized and difficult to understand. It's like when they think of another idea and they just add it to the end of their essay, and it just doesn't properly fit in. So at this time, students should finalize their claim, select the 2 texts that they will use, and then they can start working on their outline. Now, this is again, you could review this outline as well over here. And all this is going to be provided for the students. Here's a modified version of that outline that will be provided in the Video Adapted Resources folder. So I think at this time it's important for the teacher to review the format, the overall format of this essay, an introduction, 2 body paragraphs, and a conclusion. And then to explain the format of each individual paragraph and what goes on in each paragraph. So as you could see, almost every sentence fits into some sort of pattern or format. So every single sentence is almost pre-planned in a way. So again, this may take multiple days depending on the student's ability level, but it's important to show them how much scaffolding and how much support is provided for them to assist them with their writing. Now, before students begin, it's essential that they have sufficient information in their graphic organizer so they could use these quotes to help them get started with the outline. There's a number of sentence starters provided here, sentence prompts, and you can also review for students to use this approach when introducing a quote called a C response, where they introduce the quote, they state the quote, and then they explain the quote. It's often also called claim, evidence, reasoning as well. So students should reflect on their thesis statement. The texts blank and blank show that it's possible to overcome difficulties. The text Laura's Key and Inside Out show that it's possible to overcome difficulties. The text Inside Out shows that it's possible to overcome difficulties because, and they could talk about the ways that Francisco was able to overcome his difficulty. Next, the text Laura's Key shows that it's possible to overcome difficulties because, and how she overcame her difficulties that she faced. A good way to organize the essay is for the first paragraph to be based on one way that the characters were able to overcome their difficulties, such as with hard work. And then the second paragraph could say that the characters were able to overcome their difficulties with help from others. So by doing this way, it requires a little bit of a deeper analysis, but to find similarities in the way characters from 2 different stories were able to overcome their difficulties. And then they could find 2 quotes that relate, and they could begin to fill this out into their outline. And then there's space for a conclusion where they could sum up their argument. If we look a little closer, the first example of, and then they would put their reason, the first example of Francisco overcoming his difficulty with hard work occurs when, and you can maybe talk about how Francisco refused to give up in school. and you could put the quote in. This shows, and we could see we have that information up here. Francisco has to overcome many difficulties. He has difficulty in school with both understanding English and making friends. In the end, he is able to improve his English skills by working hard. He also becomes friends with the person who bullied him when he gave him the picture he drew. Okay, and here's a quote. Once I got used to the routine in school and I picked up some English words, I felt more comfortable in class. So students should begin working on this outline today, and they'll have time tomorrow to review their outline, as well as to begin turning their outline into their first rough draft. Right, and then in the remaining time, again, students can reflect on an outline. They could give peer feedback with a partner on their outlines, reflect on their biggest challenges or their greatest successes, and they will have tomorrow to continue on this assignment. So I think students will feel very supported by using this format, by the numerous sentence starters that are provided for them, by the easy to follow outline, and also by the ease with which they'll be able to move information from prior day's activities into the following day's activities. So they could see that the work they're doing is going to be relevant in later steps. So at this time, you could jump into this part of the lesson where your students begin to finalize their claims and finalize the text that they'll be using in the writing assignment. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy the lesson.